Evening all, Silverbolt here, back for the Transformers View, and I'm rather peeved, to say the least. There you go, there's a good English word for you Americans. Trying to play Neverwinter Nights 2, and it won't bloody play. Well, tell a lie, I've got more than enough graphics card, more than enough RAM, more than enough memory. My sound card's fine, but it won't play. It's just jumpy and ugh. The patch doesn't seem to help, so if anyone's got any idea how to get Neverwinter Nights 2 working, please message me, let me know. Anyway, on to the review today. I'm doing this one because, as I said, I'm a little bit peeved off, so without further ado, I introduce to you Trax. He does deserve a bit of a fanfare, mainly to suit his own ego. Trax is called a lousy Earth lover by some of the other Autobots because he much prefers his very sexy Corvette to his Cybertronian robot mode. He's very, very vain. Whereas Sunstreaker is arrogant, Trax is simply vain. He's much more concerned about how he looks in his car mode than anything else, including the fight against the Decepticons. Has a couple of very classic episodes. Mate Trax, obviously, is one that really focuses him on his own. He's in another one, Autobot Bebop, the one where Soundwave and Starscream are running a mind-controlled nightclub, and him and Blaster running around trying to stop them. Trax, amongst the fandom, has been accused of being gay, and it's quite obvious to see why in some regards. I mean, aside from being far too into his looks, with such immortal lines such as in, I think it's Autobot Island, when he turns around and says, "I'd rather stay in my stunning auto mode." You know, so you can see where it's come along with the fans thinking that he puts it in the wrong socket, as it were. Sorry, I know that was corny. But there's also the other thing is his friendship with Raoul. Sorry, but when you've got a name like Raoul, what else are you gonna be? Even despite, you know, the fact that he doesn't get that much airtime, nowhere near as much airtime as he should get, he's still a much beloved character. Mainly because he's so different. You know, there's not many Autobots that have the ego that Trax does. Well, there's not many Autobots that have the ego that Trax does that also have the same amount of airtime. I mean, obviously Slingshot's very egotistical, and he's a nasty egotist at times. Whereas Trax is just very vain and very self-glorious. You know, he really does think a lot of himself. Which is quite understandable to see why, you know, he's pretty funky. He's pretty funky. The other thing that makes Trax unique is that... excuse me. The other thing that makes Trax unique is that he can fly in car mode. And it's never been properly said whether Trax is a triple changer or not, or whether he just has the ability to come into car to get these wings that come out underneath his rear bumper into car mode, and that enables him to fly. But it's never really decided that he's actually a triple changer or not. He's certainly not the most expressive of triple changers like Springer is, or Blitzwing, or Astro Train, or Octane, or Sandstorm, I think is the other one from Series 3. So you don't see it ever confirmed that he is a proper triple changer. If he is, he's the first triple changer that the Autobots have, because of course Springer and Sandstorm don't come into Series 3. Okay, onto the toy itself. This is the 1985 toy, and it's quite simple. You know, it's pull and twist. Hang on, I'm not going to jinx this, so give me 1 second. You pull everything out. Come on. I'll tell you why I'm not going to jinx it in 1 second. Yes! I managed to transform on videos without making a mess of it. There we go. Hang on, give him his gun, which just slides onto the thing. And that's him in robot mode. There we go, put it in front of the camera so you can see. You know, he's got looks quite similar to his cartoon counterpart, as some of the Generation 2 toys. Well, he's Generation 1 for Series 2, so he's still a Gen 1 toy. So he's starting to resemble more of his cartoon counterpart. And of course, that's because Hasbro were becoming even more aware that the Transformers cartoon was just a commercial for its toys. And that's really all it was. So he does look quite similar to his robot mode in the cartoon, with these very distinctive wing plates here and the two top missile launchers on it. A nice toy. Despite the fact that it was released in '85, it doesn't have as much metal on it as some of the much earlier toys, the old Diaclone range. His legs are metal, and I think that's about it. Yeah, I think it's just a casing on his legs. Maybe the wheel rims are metal, I'm not sure. Comes with this severely oversized gun for his hands. I mean, his hands are really small because they just slide up into his wrists and then slide out again. It doesn't even sit in his hand, it actually clips on round it. And it has the two missile launchers at the front on these shoulders, which don't seem to fire. And that's it. Complaints about this toy, I have a couple. It's a nice toy, but one of the things I don't like about it is the face. Hang on, don't put it in the light, put it in the camera, Simon. It's just a white helmet with this red shape in it, and that's about it. The other thing that really I'm not too fond of this toy is the missile launch on the top. They're too big. You know, he looks remarkably top heavy. You know, he looks like if he's not leaning forward, he's going to fall over backwards, because they are remarkably top heavy. Of course, the cartoon tracks does look very similar in that, in certain depictions of him, his head looks like it's actually in his boot. Also, the back, it's very open. It's just this open space. It's a nice toy, and they're my main faults with it. The other thing as well, he gets an alternator format, and I think Tracks in his alternator format, which is this guy, is much more, does seem to be very much a G1 homage to him in the fact that he's got the track style head, with a very track style helmet, and this time he's actually got his eyes done in, they're done in blue, and he's got his missile launchers, and he's also got a very distinctive Tracks chest plate, and it does seem that Hasbro and Takara did this as a fan thing more than a proper alternator, because they put a lot of effort into making him look like his G1 counterpart. And he has two designs, because he's got the standard blue design, the classic blue design for Tracks, which is the one I wanted, and there's a yellow version. And of course, Battle Ravage, the first Ravage alternator, is also based on Tracks, in that he's a Corvette. Both cars are a Corvette. It's not like Grimlock, who is obviously a dinosaur in the cartoon, and then he becomes a Ford Mustang, the alternators range. In both his G1 format and in his alternators format, he's a Corvette. And very, very sexy in car mode. Alternators Tracks is a bastard to transform. He's an absolute nightmare to transform. Though he does have these rather funky, if you can... Hang on, I'll turn it around so you're actually looking the right way. Hand cannons. You know, they do look quite nice. Rather stupid looking gun, but never mind, that's neither here nor there. Alternate Tracks is very, very nice. And I have to say, I do prefer it over the G1 Tracks. That's another thing, the hinge is very loose. Whether that's just because of my toy, or whether that was something that it came about naturally as it is, I don't know. But the hinge is very, very loose. I mean, I had to get a Tracks simply because he's such an awesome character. You know, he's such a brilliant character. There is a reissue of him, so you can get Tracks quite easily nowadays. You can get most of the old ones quite easily, though what the quality's like on them compared to their old 80s versions, I'm not entirely sure. You'd have to get a reissue in a proper 80s version to compare what the quality of the plastic and the metal's like. Because knowing Hasbro, it's going to be cheap plastic. I mean, it's not a cheap toy. They're not cheap toys. I know that Toys R Us bumped up the prices of their reissues from when I was looking at them, when I was buying some of their other range, some of their other ranges. They did go up from £10 to £15. That's quite a fucking big price jump. Yeah, that's Trax. Awesome G1 character. Brilliant G1 character. Really should have got more airtime. You don't see him after Series 2. You really don't see him in Series 3 at all, hardly. Which is a pity, because he's great. You know, he's just brilliant. And, you know, he's one of the most beloved Transformer characters. Simply because he is, well, he's just Trax. You know, he's sexy car mode, sexy robot mode. And he's brilliant and he knows it. But anyway, yep, that's my review done. I'm going to see if I can play about with Neverwinter Nights again. See if I can get it working. But for now, this is Silverbolt with Trax and Uber Trax saying sayonara, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.